Hey guys, as we were recording this episode, the machine crashed that was doing the video. So there actually is no video of this episode. So we just are going to play the audio here in this video. So look for more video coming for the next episodes, but this episode will not have an actual video of us doing the episode because the machine crashed. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for your support.
You're listening to the Dudes and Dads Podcast, a show dedicated to helping men be better dudes and dads by building community through meaningful conversation and storytelling. And now, here are your hosts, Joel DeMott and Andy Lehman.
Andy, here we are, Season 2, Episode 3 of the Dudes and Dads Podcast.
You're back at this like a machine.
At it, and I got to say, Andy, the recording schedule that we're keeping up so far, we're a little bit ahead of the ball now.
It's like a tight ship.
It's like a tight ship for 2020. We love it. Well, hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Dudes and Dads Podcast. So glad you could join us wherever you are, in the car, in the shower, maybe in your favorite...
in the shower, in the car.
In the shower.
If you're in an RV, maybe.
If you've got a shower car or a car shower, thank you for joining us there. So grateful for you, all of you. Well, hey, guys, yet again, we are here with you, and just wanted to say thanks to all of the support and for all of you that are following. Want to remind each and every one of you that you can contact us over at dudesanddadspodcast@gmail.com. If you've got any thoughts, reflections, harebrained schemes.
Right. We would especially like to hear your feedback on the episode with Cody Chaplin. That was a good one. Just came out actually today as we're recording this.
Yeah, so good. Lot to process there. I'm still thinking about some of the points that we talked on, and I likely it's going to be a platform for further conversation that we have in around those particular issues around. Oh, well, everything he talked about. Yeah. So, please, would love to hear your feedback. Any way we can just come alongside you, support you. Also, the voicemail is always welcomed, Andy.
We love hearing your voice. So if you want to give us a call, that voicemail number is 574-213-8702.
One more time, Andy.
That number is 574-213-8702.
Oh, wow. Like it was a commercial.
It was.
And guys, as always, you listen to the podcast that you subscribe to. I know I do. Every time I get on my particular podcast app, which is maybe something I take up with Andy. The podcast app I use, we're not on, actually. Podbean.
No, we'll have to try that.
True story.
All right.
But I just know that I listen to what I subscribe to, right? So, So
you're saying you don't listen to this show?
I listen to this show on Spotify because that's where it comes. That's the feed it comes through on Spotify. But on Podbean, it does not. Because not.
Well, I'll make sure that I'll get on it.
I didn't want to make it public, but here we've had I'm glad we fixed this
thanks
on air.
For getting on
Golly, so sorry. But again, guys, you can subscribe if you haven't subscribed on your particular favorite platform, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, or the other places that we are that are not coming to me right now, but you can find on our website over at dudesanddadspodcast.com. But again, if you want to subscribe, and not only do you want to subscribe, you also want to leave a review. Hit the stars that you feel are an appropriate representation of the high quality that you get here at Dudes and Dads Podcast.
And then make sure that you are typing in some comments on that, because we love reading comments, and then it helps us also in the
and for those of you that can't see that you're not watching this on YouTube, Andy is doing the international typey symbol for type comments. Error keyboard. Leave those reviews. Super helpful for other people to find the content and know what is going on over here at Dudes and Dads HQ. So
what's brewing? What's brewing?
Oh, what's brewing tonight?
Thank you, Hattie Mae.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Joel, I'm just going to preface this before you tell us what we're actually brewing. We actually were out the three. We had mentioned in the last episode
that's right,
that me and Joel and our wives and a couple other husbands and wives are going to get together and hang out this last weekend. We did, and we found this wonderful
We did.
craft coffee company.
Yes, good old Uncommon Coffee Roasters located in beautiful, and at the time, snow-covered Saugatuck, Michigan.
Right.
We made the reservation for the Airbnb, obviously, before the weather came in, and we were like, there are no cancellations. We're making it up there, but it was slower,
dicey.
It was dicey and a slower drive than normal,
It was.
I would say. But we made it, and we were able to enjoy the delightful coffee stylings of Uncommon Coffee Roasters located in Saugatuck. Tonight we are drinking the coffee from their barrel-aged series, which is a medium to light roast from the Pieria. So it's a Colombian coffee here, and we're so glad to be drinking it. It has a bourbon flavor with oaky earth notes and a fruity finish, which if that doesn't say I don't know what does. But we're enjoying it, and it's a barrel aged coffee, so it adds a little smokiness, a little character that kind of catches you there at the end of the sip.
If you have a favorite coffee that you want to send to us, to
why have
drink
we
on the
not
show,
thought of this sooner, Andy?
send us an email at dudesanddadspodcast@gmail.com. We'll get you our address so you can send some coffee our way.
And of course, we always love to enjoy our coffee. And
This is starting to sound really
I know
gimmicky.
we're really getting it. I just can't help it.
This is cheesy.
It feels fun to me. It's probably
Oh,
terrible
man.
for all of you listening. No, our Dudes and Dads, we just mentioned it. Dudes and Dads, wonderful coffee mugs here can be found over at our merch store at the website. So in case you want to get a nice, if you're into podcasts and you want to get yourself a podcast piece of memorabilia or share it with a loved one, by all means, feel free.
Absolutely.
Check it out.
Well, tonight we have on our show Cory Witmer. Cory is, well, he's not only a friend, but he's also my cousin. So welcome to the show, Cory.
Friend by choice.
Oh,
Oh, man. I feel loved.
Friends are family you choose.
Right.
You know?
So
Well, then I guess Cory is a family that you didn't choose, a friend that you didn't choose.
no, we choose to be friends.
You chose to be friends.
we don't choose to be family, but we choose to be friends.
That's beautiful. Gosh,
We should get a t-shirt of that. Anyways, Cory and I actually, little known fact, did a podcast about dads a while ago before this podcast started. And we did it for quite a while, like a couple years, a year. I don't remember.
I have no idea.
And Cory,
It was-
I don't mind saying though, it was my personal inspiration. I was able to be a guest once on that show, and I was caught by the podcast bug, and then we let it simmer for a while. I went to Andy with a proposal. Andy told me no, and then a little time passed, and we came back, and he was ready to rock and roll.
After he offered me like thousands of dollars.
I was
to
a
help
large
him out. No,
large monetary bribe.
not really. But anyways, welcome to the show, Cory. We like to talk.
Thanks for having me.
We like to do something called Dad Stats. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, your wife, your kids, your job?
All right. Wife, kids, job. My wife is Amanda. We have been married for 15 years.
Holy smoke!
We are only a couple months behind Andy and Julie.
Yeah, that's right.
True story.
One of the best men in my wedding right here. Not only a cousin and a friend, but a best
Man also.
So and Julie was the what matron
of honor. Because if
Because
you're
she was
married,
married,
if you're
yes.
married, you get all matronly.
So yes. So I've known Andy my whole life, and Julie and Amanda were really good friends. So we've all kind of known each other for ages.
Well, really, you made it onto this podcast already because we
That's
talked
true.
with the wives of the square table. We did mention about you and Amanda.
Yeah, and what a integral is that the word?
I think so.
Integral part you played in their relationship.
So, my wife Amanda and I, we've been married 15 years. We have 3 awesome kids. Elijah is our oldest, and he is 12.
Holy smoke, Elijah!
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Lucas is 10, and Abigail is just about to turn 9. Well, just about in April. She reminds us regularly that she is almost 9.
Going on 21.
Yeah. And job. Oh man. So I do a lot of things. as a professional, I am a licensed mental health counselor.
That is an LMHC for those of you in the biz.
Yeah, LMHC. I work with our juvenile probation department in our county, and really work on connecting kids with services, trying to divert them from the system and get them connected with the appropriate services. It is a very challenging and rewarding job, but that's only a part of it. I also I do a whole lot of things outside of work, one of which is volunteer youth
Fellow youth worker.
So, yeah, so I have that takes up some of my time.
Youth workers are the best people. Like, here's the deal. We have guests on here, as I'm totally interrupting Cory at the moment.
Go for it.
We have
I need a drink of coffee.
We have guests on here that we have people that are friends that we love to hear their stories, and inevitably a high percentage of them have youth work experience,
Right.
which means the best people are in youth work. I know I'm biased, but this is the fact. So facts. Anyway, continue, Cory. I'm spellbound.
So, and I would actually put that as maybe first on my list of who I am.
Yeah.
Occupationally is
Love
youth
it.
worker, because that's where my passion lies.
Love it. Well, that's what you did. You did that professionally for a time.
Did that professionally for a
and
while.
you were like, hey, you know what? I'm a glutton for punishment. Let's go get a master's degree,
right?
so I can work with more youth
and not get paid anymore. So
it's true. It's
that
true.
was
Love your commitment. Thank you so much.
Great decision there.
Love it so much.
Well, so we got your kids, your wife, your job. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You've recently, within the last year, had your dad pass. Has it been
almost 2 years?
Almost 2 years. Wow, man, it's
gone
been that long.
quick. Goes quick.
So we kind of wanted to chat a little bit about that on the show and how that affects. So if you just start wherever you want and start talking.
Yeah. So we'll see if you guys make me cry tonight.
That's always our goal.
We may have some Kleenexes.
Yes.
Last time I talked about this, I ended up crying, which kind of caught me off guard because I haven't for a while. So yeah, not quite 2 years ago. It was early morning. I don't know, like 6 o'clock. I got a call from a guy that works with my dad, and he said, "Hey, we're trying to get a hold of your mom. Your dad just collapsed at work. EMS is on the way, but we can't get a hold of your mom." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "What hospital are they taking him to?" He said, "I think they're going to take him to Elkhart." So I went ahead, I was already up and getting ready for work. And so I just jumped in my vehicle and headed towards the hospital, and calling my mom, trying to get a hold of my mom the whole way, got a hold of her, got to the hospital. I mean, just the way everything happened, like there was just this, looking back on it, there was this sense of, I think I knew that he wasn't going to make it, but you never want to admit that, and you never want to accept that. And so he died of cardiac arrest, and a little known fact. The day before this happened, I had just become certified as an instructor in CPR. And then the next day my dad dies of cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Ironic, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Every time I teach CPR now, it's a reminder of that. And,
Yeah.
but so that's fun. So yeah, it hit our family. It just blindsided us. This wasn't expected. He wasn't, he did everything he was supposed to. I mean, generally healthy, monitored his heart because his dad had heart problems and, runs in the family. But he was on top of that stuff. He was watching that, and so this just happened, and it blindsided us. And none of us were ready for that. And he was young. I mean, he was 57. Yeah, I think I got that right. 57, 58. And just, you don't expect that. You don't expect to be dealing with that as a 33-year-old, was I 30, 34-year-old, whatever I was. You don't expect your dad to pass away, and he was generally healthy, and so it was difficult, and there was so many different layers then, so many levels of things to deal with, and I'm not sure exactly how much we want to get into tonight.
Sure.
But it was there was the whole dealing with the grief personally. I'm a counselor. I should know how to deal with this. I should, I'm trained for this. I'm trained to walk other people through this. They don't train you how to walk through it yourself.
Yeah.
And so, dealing with that, trying to, take that professional side of me and apply it to my personal life, and figuring out how to make that work. And then, helping my wife and my kids walk through this. They lost their grandpa. And it hit like each of my kids differently. They each dealt with it differently. They still each deal with it differently. And then, also as a brother and as a son, figuring out what is my role now? How do I fit in here? How do I support my brothers? How do we be a family? How do we exist without
and
that?
you come from a fairly large family. You have 3 biological brothers, and then you have
2 biological brothers.
That's right. I'm thinking you're sorry.
There's 3 of us.
There's 3 of you.
Apparently, I don't know you as well as I think I do.
Yes, I have an older biological brother and a younger biological brother, and then I have 4 adopted siblings.
So so that's
So there's 7 of us all in total, and my youngest brother Stuart is 17. So he was 16 at the time that it happened, I think. 15 when it happened.
right, and it probably looks different for everybody in your family too, because you and your biological brothers are not living at home.
Right.
2 of you are local, 1 is away,
yeah.
and then you have all of your adopted siblings are still living at home.
Right. And 3 of my adopted siblings have special needs.
Right, and so that looks different.
So that it, it's very different, and the whole grief process and figuring that out and figuring out how do we be a family without dad was difficult. And each person kind of had their own process, and there was other things that came up, and still come up as time goes on as a family with, how do you take out the head of the family and still function as a family. And so it's been a very interesting journey for us. And I think one of the things that I've learned along the way is just the diversity of grief. I mean, as a professional, we're trained that, the grief process is different for everyone. Everyone goes through it differently. It's very different when you see it and you live through it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm dealing with it this way, but my brother's dealing with it this way. My other brother's dealing with it this way. Everyone has their own process they're going through. And then especially my siblings with special needs, they're processing through things way differently.
Right.
And kind of helping them figure things out. And it was, experiencing those steps with them as they went through it. And so it really, it was almost a compounded situation for me. And what was amazing, God's timing is impeccable. Like he's got us covered. No matter what happens, he knows and he sees. And at work, we had a new guy start just across the hall from me. And like he had just transferred to our office, and he was like, I didn't know him. He started the day, or the week that my dad died, and so I think I'd met him once before my dad died, and then I took some time off, and when I came back, he just kind of came over and said, "Hey man, I heard what happened, and if you ever need to talk, let me know." And let me know about a little bit of his story, how he had lost his wife and worked through some of that. And so we had a team meeting that day, the first day that I was back to work, and we had this team meeting, and we all get together. And part of our team meeting is we start just with, what's going on in your life, what's happening, how you doing, and just to kind of check in as a team. And we go around, and it comes to me, and like I'm struggling because
Sure.
I'm not doing good.
Right. It's all very fresh.
Yeah. And Tom just puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, guys, I think we all understand how Cory's doing. And he said, Cory, you don't have to talk today. And like,
wow,
he's the new guy on the team.
Yeah.
But like totally intervened for me.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
didn't know me hardly at all yet. And so God put him in my life to walk me through this. And so there's been so many times that I just go into Tom's office and like sit down and I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. And like, God put him there for that time. And he and I have created this friendship now that, we can trust each other and we can talk to each other and we can support each other. Because God put him there for that perfect time.
Right.
So for me, that was a huge help having someone I could lean on, because I tried to be strong for everyone.
Sure.
Right.
I'm the professional. I'm the counselor.
And you're the middle child.
Right.
I'm the middle child.
and I think even if you weren't the counselor, though, I think that's naturally, like, as a dude and as a dad, like, that's one of our things that we just try to make everyone kind of like okay and fix everybody, and you can't fix this situation.
Right.
And so that was nice that you had somebody there.
Yeah. And so Tom really kind of walked me through, like, dude, you don't have to be your dad. Like, because there was this part of me that felt like, okay, I've got to step up. There's a hole in our family. I've got to fill that hole. Mm-hmm. And he's like, dude, you can't be your dad. And that's not your responsibility. He said, your responsibility is to be Cory. Mm-hmm. And your responsibility is to be a husband to your wife and a father to your children and a son to your mom and a brother to your siblings. And he said, that's who you are. And that's your responsibility in this. You can't take on everything. You can't fill that role. And so it was, that has been super healing and super helpful for me. And there's been ups and downs. I mean, grief is grief.
Yeah. Grief sucks. I mean, never just going to name it. Grief sucks.
It does. And so, there's days where, life's good and it's okay. But then there's days where, I cry at a song that I hear and I'm like, what the heck? Like,
right.
I hate, and so, and there's, just lots of things. And, for our kid's 10th birthday, we do kind of make a big deal of it, and we take him on, do a trip. For my oldest, we took him to Green Bay Packers game because our family's huge Packers fans.
Sorry.
And I know. So we took him to that, and my middle son, he's not as into sports, and he likes it, but we asked him, what he wanted to do, and he's like, I don't know. And so talked about it, and he turned 10 in August, and we were talking through it, and he's like, I think I want to go on a fishing trip. And he's like, Grandpa would have really liked to go with me. And it's like, like, it's those things, the little things that just come up that kind of hit you like, yeah. So he would have loved to go with you. So
when you're talking about somebody, and this is, I think, for those of us that are close to a person who is going through grief, who is going through loss, and we don't know what to say or whether we should step into what we perceive as a gap, there, whether that's in the workplace or whatever. from your experience, like what would be your encouragement for people that are kind of on the periphery watching, maybe a close coworker, maybe a good friend or another family member navigate that? How do you know what to do, when to do it? Because people they're fearful and unsure in those circumstances. They're like, I don't want to make it worse, So maybe if I just, kind of bide my time and step back, that's maybe the safe play. What would be your observation of all of that and encouragement to those people on the kind of looking in and watching things unfold?
Yeah. So, man, I experienced such a the whole gamut of everything. From people saying, "Oh yeah, I know how you feel." Don't say that. Guys.
Shut up. Yeah.
You may have experienced something similar,
right.
But it's not the same.
Yeah.
You don't know how I feel. You know how you felt going through that. To people that just didn't say anything because they didn't know what to say.
Right.
And so, I think one of the most helpful things for me, well, I mean, there were several, like Tom stepping in and just giving me permission to be real and be raw. Saying, dude, I know you're going to be experiencing some things in the next months and years that you don't know how to deal with. And he said, that's okay. Just, you can come to me. My door's open. If I'm here, we can talk. So just that permission for someone like that to be that shoulder, to be that person that I can go to. The other thing is, I had a friend tell me, dude, I have no idea what to even say to you. And I was like, that's okay. You don't have to say anything. You don't need to. Just acknowledging that you see the hurt and you don't know what to say is saying more than
you trying to say something.
You trying to say something.
Right.
So I think if you don't know what to say, just acknowledging that, dude, I see you're hurting and I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But I'm here for you.
Yep.
And the other thing, I think just as, and I think some of this has to do with personality, some of it has to do with gifting, some of it, but there was a lot of people that would say, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And I do
you had needs.
I've said that before.
Yep. Right.
Yep. But in the moment, it's I don't know what I need.
Yep.
It's and I know they would have done anything if I would have said, I need a cup of coffee right now. They would have gone and got me a cup of coffee.
Right.
If I was dude, I'm hungry, they would have gotten me some food. So it's, but I didn't know what I needed. So maybe being specific with an offer to help. So, because I've done that before. Hey, if you need anything, let me know. And so even since I've done it, I can think in the last 6 months times that I've said that to people.
Sure.
But just being more specific, hey, can I bring you a meal?
Yep.
Or, hey, dude, can I just pray for you right now?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say, but can I just pray for you? And
right.
God, I know you know what this person needs, and I don't, but I just pray that you give them what they need. You know, anything like that, offer something specific, rather than the general, if you need anything, offer something specific, because, in the moment, I didn't.
Sure. And that's an important thing for somebody, and I go back to our journey with Andy and Julie. I go back to other, in a pastoral role, things where it's I recognize people going in grief are not thinking as they normally think.
Right.
Your brain at a fundamental level is functioning differently in that.
Oh, you're in survival mode.
Yeah.
Your brain has, sections of your thinking is shut down.
Some's turned off. And so when you, so to speak, when you as an outside person are putting an additional stress or requirement on a person to think about what they need, that's all that may be absolutely impossible for them.
Right.
Quite honestly. And so this is why it's really good to sit down, think about the practical implications of the situation. Do they have children? Do they have do kids are there meetings and things that need to happen because of the recent loss or whatever, that maybe it would be great if there was some childcare provided or other options, or maybe the kids take the kids somewhere else to do something different to get their, by the way, it is okay to take kids to get their mind off
Absolutely.
of that stuff and to kind of evacuate them from the immediate situation.
And I would say along with that, if a child doesn't want to go, don't make them.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
If you're like, hey, can I take your kids to Sky Zone?
Sure.
And one of the kids is like, I don't want to go. Like,
sure.
Don't force them to
go. Yeah, don't force them.
Let them process
on
their own.
And so it's giving, but to your point, specific options. But think just before you offer anything, just thinking down about what are the practical needs that are somewhat obvious. And quite honestly, it may feel this way. And this is to your point about gifting and about perception and how certain people will be better at this than others. There does come a point where it's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing for you, and I'm not looking for your permission.
Yeah, I'm just doing
it. Mm-hmm. And because hey, if I just went and get you a cup of coffee and you're not feeling like coffee right now, who cares? I did it.
Yeah.
I've shown that I'm going to take some action on this, and now that hopefully is at least in the person who's grieving is in their mind of, okay, this is a trusted person that will follow, that is intentionally doing some things. I'm going to at least tuck that away.
Right.
That's going to be a helpful thing.
And that cup of coffee may sit there and get cold and never get drank.
Yeah.
But there's a meaning behind it.
Right.
There's
that
value
action.
behind it.
Yeah. That action says way more than not doing anything or just saying, hey, Cory, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not going to be able to say that.
And that's just what I want. I mean, listeners, again, we have talked and we'll continue to talk about grief. It does come up. It does come up on the show frequently. But the big thing is to understand, people's brains, they shut down a little bit. They're not thinking the way they normally would think. They will likely act different. Their personality, you'll experience their personality as being a different thing. And it will. Some of them, I mean, they will be a different person forever following that experience. So that segues into my next question for you. I mean, post which we should say your dad's name was Carl, and post Carl passing away, when you kind of look and reflect on yourself now approaching 2 years after the loss, what's different about Cory now than 2 years ago?
Oh man, I think it's a hard question for me to answer because I think there's a lot of things. I think there's probably a lot of things that have changed that I don't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one of the things I think I've gotten better at, and my wife and I have talked about this several times. It's just setting boundaries. Like, and when, especially immediately afterwards, when you lose someone immediately afterwards, like, people want to be there. Like, people genuinely want to help and want to be around, and that's okay. And I think there's a time for that. You need people surrounding you and supporting you, and we experienced that. I mean, I will say that we were surrounded. My parents' church surrounded our family in such a way that left such an impact on us that we stepped into that church family afterwards.
Right. Proof was in the pudding there. They showed where their heart was at.
Because they loved us so much. Like, we weren't even part of their church.
Yeah. Listen to that, church. Listen to that.
And so yeah, I think you need people around you, but then I also think as time goes, you need to figure out, and I needed to figure out boundaries. I needed to figure out, okay, as we're going and with family, with friends, with everybody, just figuring out, okay, how do I set these boundaries to keep myself healthy? Mm-hmm. Because I think initially I didn't set any boundaries, and I just was trying to do everything for everyone.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that Tom really impressed on me was, dude, it's okay to say no. It's okay to set a boundary and say, I can't do that.
Right.
And, you know, I had to do it with some friends, you know, that it's like they needed some help doing something. And I'm like, I can't do it.
Yep.
And it hurts to say that,
Right.
but I can't do it. And so that's probably one of the things I would say I've grown in. I think I've also accepted that I'm not my dad. And for those of you who didn't know my dad could fix or make anything.
True story.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my mom would dream up like these crazy things and be like, hey, Carl, I want to do this and I want this. And he would be like, oh, I know. And like, he'd draw it out on an envelope, like in a bill, like
Yep.
you get your
Right.
NIPSCO bill and
Right.
you take it out and there's just an empty envelope. He would
Right.
draw it out on the back of that envelope.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, something like this. And she's like, yeah. And then he'd take that envelope and put it in his pocket and then like build whatever it was just off of that. Like, he could do or build or make anything or fix anything. And like their house, like anything that went wrong, he could fix it. Like,
Yeah.
he was great at those things. I'm not.
Yeah.
I am not that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so hard for me to admit because I want so bad to be that person. I want so bad to be my dad. Like,
Yes.
I want to be like him, that I can make anything and
Right.
and I can, you know, I think I can, and I've tried. And
Yeah.
my wife and I decided that when we do any more remodeling, we're going to call somebody.
You've had your chance, buddy.
Yeah.
We're moving on. We're moving on.
And we were talking about redoing the bathroom, and she's like, "No, we're going to have somebody do it because we remodeled a bedroom over 9 years."
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that any race was won on that.
No, okay. But it was remodeled. So Cory, one of the things that just impacted me. I mean, I was so vividly remember as I'm sitting at your dad's funeral and just listening to what people had to share about his life.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I so clearly remember was that Carl, like, great family man, loved his family, loved good friend, all of those things, but his faith was real and evident, and it, like, there was not a person that came up to talk about him that couldn't it's like let's just get this out of the way first and foremost. The man loved Jesus, and like that was obvious to everybody in the room. What, like, as you've reflected on that legacy, which is what it was, a legacy of faith, like what have there been things that you've taken from that to say, like, I am encouraged and pushed on? Because in those ways, it's like, I would hope you would want to be like your dad as far as that's concerned.
What's amazing about that is, like, if you would just sit in his funeral and just listen to those people, you would think he was like an evangelist.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, whoa there, Billy Graham.
You would think that he was like talking about Jesus all day, every day.
Sure.
Like, my dad didn't. Like, he didn't talk about his faith like throwing it out there all the time.
Sure.
Like,
Yep.
he lived it.
Yeah.
He didn't didn't use his words as much as he just used his actions. Like,
Yep.
and that's kind of I mean, I don't know, like a 90s cliche.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, what would Jesus do?
Yeah. Right.
But that was what Dad did. Like, and I mean, if you got into a conversation with him, he would totally talk about God, and he would talk about his faith, and he would talk about his relationship. But it wasn't like he was out there like carrying his Bible and like beating people with it. It was It was just this quiet, steady person, and you know, I hope people say the same thing about me.
Yeah.
Because that was, it was amazing to me, the amount of people that he impacted. Like, I mean, just the men whose lives he poured into, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
like, Carl was a mentor to me, and I'm like,
What?
He
who are
mentored?
you?
Yeah, right.
What?
Right.
And so, yeah, like that was pretty cool to see. You know, I mean, he radiated Jesus, and
Yeah.
but didn't broadcast it. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was one of those things that was it was encouraging, and I think that's another one of those things that just made the healing process a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
Like knowing, hey, he ran the race.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
You know,
Right.
we went to church growing up. We like Dad was involved in church, but it wasn't. I don't know how to verbalize it. Like he wasn't that dad that was always like, you need to be reading your Bible, and you know you need to do this, and you need to, you know, he wasn't that guy. He just lived.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was. Thanks for that observation.
No, yeah.
That means a lot, actually.
No, that was just, it was immensely clear to me, but I did, you know, I thought the same thing to myself. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, when we reach the end, which may be tomorrow, which may be in 60 years, whatever the case is, like, this is the stuff that I desire to be said about me at the end of my life.
Yeah.
Period. And that is, I made an impact on people. I showed them, like, it was clear to them that my life was about Jesus first and foremost, and that what I did with my time, my talent, and my treasure, came out of that. So yeah, that was just a clarifying thing to me, but I think it's just helpful to hear, like, dads, imagine your funeral tomorrow. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine your funeral tomorrow. What's said about you? Right? What are your children left? What are your children left with? Because you've just said it's still hard as all get out, but it's immensely better to be sitting in a funeral for your father and you hear, this was a man of character who followed through on his promises, who was a consistent, who loved his wife, who loved his kids, and here's how he showed it. Oh, and by the way, let's just throw up a whole bunch of fellows he worked with that was off the radar that few people saw,
right.
And yet, oh my gosh, he behaved the same, he
Right.
did the same thing with them. He behaved the same way with them.
Yeah.
As opposed to being, we see it all the time, the man that lives one life here with family or
Right.
one life in a public church way, but at work he's is a complete terror, and
Right.
and that that's there was an integration with Carl, and not a disintegration, and that's the thing that that struck me, and that I would say that makes for lack of a better term, it makes for a really good funeral, and that we're pointing people, we're able to point people, the person in the casket as they lay there is still pointing people to Jesus in that experience. So that's good.
Well, we want to talk to you a little bit too, because you are that, whatever those initials are that you said that you were at the beginning.
The licensed
LMHC.
There we go. That
yes,
thing.
Licensed. Yes, he's a mental health
Person.
counselor. Yes.
So since you're that, we want to talk a little bit about mental health and things just in general that we as men can do to keep good mental health, as well as, obviously you had to do things there, but just in your everyday life, what are some things that you do to keep a good mental health, so you can be a good dad, be a good husband, be a good, friend?
Yeah. First of all, counselors are the worst at self-care. So I have
true story.
I have all sorts
Okay,
of
so tell me what
of
you tell me.
things that you should do.
I don't intend to practice myself, but
Yeah. It's true. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, they were like, you should journal things. I was like, yeah, I know. I tell everybody that they should journal,
But I don't.
but I've never done it. And so I even got my oldest journaling, and I don't. I was like, maybe I should start this. So I actually did. I'm starting this year. I'm starting to journal. So that's a good place to start, though, is, just writing things down. I think as men, I don't want to oversimplify this, but we kind of don't have time for that. And taking some time just to jot down your thoughts, jot down your feelings. Yes, we have feelings as men.
We do.
And writing down, prayers and writing down, your what's happening in your life and getting those things out. That's a good place to start. Just in general, when it comes to mental health, like we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. Like mental health isn't a bad thing. It's just
what it is.
Yeah. I mean, just like you have a physical health, you go for a physical checkup, if you have high blood pressure, you take medicine for high blood pressure. We all have mental health. It might be doing really well right now, or it might not be doing really well right now, but it's there. And so just accepting that, like, hey, mental health isn't this like funky thing just for those who are, hallucinating and
right.
hearing voices. Like mental health is depression. Mental health is stress. I mean,
right.
How many of us have never felt stress in our lives?
Right.
I mean,
we all
do.
Everyone feels stressed, and that's that's a mental health issue. And so I think just being willing to say, mental health is a thing that we need to look at. And man, I wish I would have brought some stats with me, because there are some great stats out there on men and seeking help.
If you want to get those stats to me, I can put them in the show notes before the show.
It's good
publishes.
resource.
So yeah, go ahead and do that.
So I'll try to find those. But it's like, I mean, guys, like if you're experiencing depression, talk to somebody about it. If you're experiencing anxiety, if you're experiencing stress, if you're experiencing, if you feel like you're getting angry a lot, and it's like, man, I don't know where this anger is coming from. Like, those are all things that they're mental health issues that are fairly easy to address. It's like if you're talking to if you have high blood pressure and you talk to your doctor, it's a fairly easy thing to address.
Yeah,
you can just take some medicine and it's all right. Like, we monitor it and we check it. It's all right. So if you're experiencing any of those things, talk to someone about it. If you have a great pastor counselor at your church, talk to them, or talk to a professional counselor. I can't say we're not. Most of us aren't that scary. We really do, like, most of us really do just want to help. And so, sometimes it's as simple as, 4 or 5 sessions, just sitting talking with somebody about, hey, I got this thing that just won't go away. I don't know how to deal with it. And talking it through for a couple sessions, and that's it. And you move on. Sometimes it's a little bit more deep seated, and the more cliche, digging into your past and and bringing that stuff up. But that's okay. Like, it takes a little bit longer, but you can still get through it. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's almost like everything for us as dads, is we put everybody else first. I'm going to make sure my kids are taken care of. I'm going to make sure my wife is taken care of. If they need, if they're experiencing depression, I'm going to make sure that we take care of that. If one of my kids comes to me and says, I'm having these thoughts about hurting myself, I'm going to address that and I'm going to take care of it right away. But if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, maybe everybody would be better off without me, a lot of times I'm just going to push that away and be like, I'll be all right. I can make it through. I'll be all right. I'm going to pull myself up.
Go get some.
you can talk to somebody about that. It's okay to talk to somebody about that. It's okay to take some time out of your day and your week. You know, your family's going to be better if you're healthy than if you're not. So I think that's a big deal. And I don't know, I don't know that we have time to go in depth on a lot of issues, but the other thing is there's a lot of good and bad information on the internet. Like, we live in the era of WebMD where everyone's a doctor
and everyone has cancer.
Yeah. So, you know, like there's good information out there. There's bad information out there. You know, find somewhere that's reliable, find good information and go with it. There's the place where I work. We have a website that's specifically for our county, but it also it's more general for parents and kids. And it has a section for parents that says, hey, what if my kid is experiencing this? Or what if my kid says that? And it just walks you through here's how you can deal with that. And what if I am this? What if I blow up at my kid? What if I and it kind of guides you through that and gives you resources specifically in our county, but also some general national resources are there too. And so finding places like that and resources where you can get good information, because I think good information is power.
Yeah.
Bad information leaves you powerless.
Right.
You've got to sort through some of that. And that's where, again, a good counselor is going to be able to walk you through that. If you find someone you trust to walk you through that. The other thing, and this is where Tom experienced loss in his life, and then he was transparent about it with me and shared that with me and walked me through my loss. You know, if you're experiencing something, share it with other people. If you've walked through something, share that story. Because I mean, as men, we've experienced, you've experienced things that I haven't, you've experienced things I haven't, I've experienced things you guys haven't, but we don't share those things because we're like, what if they judge me?
Talk about my feelings.
Yeah, what if Joel looks at me differently if I tell him this?
Right.
Share those stories because there are other dudes out there that need to hear that.
100%. And there seems to be a fear. I mean, there's a fear of being perceived as weak or less than. And I cannot stress this enough. The weak thing to do is to not talk about it. The weak thing is to not seek out help. Weakness like that is going to beget further weakness, and we want to be available to other people in our lives. We want to do all these things for other people. You will reach the end of your rope and your effectiveness, and by putting off, by putting a tourniquet around the bleeding right now, the whole thing dies eventually.
Right.
And so it's like real strength, real to be a husband, to be a father, to do that to be strong in those areas is to seek help wherever you need it, so that you're in this game for the long run, and you're not, one of the statistics of either divorce, absent father, go on down the list.
Yeah. And I mean, in our culture, in our society, suicide's a real thing.
Yep.
And it happens even to adult men. I mean, again, I don't have the statistics, but I know adult men are complete suicide more than any other, because
they choose aggressive and violent and most violent means.
And so, it's a real thing, and there's a big fallout to that.
Yep.
The other thing that I would say is be appropriately transparent with your kids. If you've struggled with depression, if that's been something that's been there for you and you've worked through it and you're getting help, let your kids know.
Yeah.
And on an appropriate level, age appropriate, it's not appropriate to tell your 7 or 8 year old that, you tried to kill yourself.
Right.
But going from an appropriate level and letting them know, hey, I've struggled with this. This has been something I've dealt with, and it's okay because I got help, and you know, I've made it through. And especially as your kids are getting to teenage years, knowing that you've experienced some of those things is going to empower them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So be appropriately transparent with your kids, because the more we can talk about it, the more we can kind of get conversations going, the less stigma. I mean, we fight it all the time. We fight stigma all the time. I mean, it's really almost becoming a cliche thing.
Yeah.
The stigma of mental health, because we're constantly fighting against it, when really it's just life. I mean, it's part of our fallen nature. Is we deal with things.
Yep.
We deal with physical illnesses. We deal with mental illnesses. It's part of the body we have.
Yeah, and our hope would just be, I mean, we want to, you know, destroy the power of darkness and this power of the secret, the power of the unseen, the unspoken, all of those things, because people are wasting away in silence, and there's real health and real light that can be brought to those things. But you got to step out. You got to make the choice. You got to, you know, there are a lot of resources available. I know, like if you come into my office here, we have a list of practitioners, care providers that we're ready to connect people with. And so, you know, and that exists. I mean, you can safely Google, you know, licensed mental health providers in your area and find practices and things like that. And, there's good ways of vetting that. It's possible.
The other thing is, like, not all counselors are equal. Like, we're all different. We all have different personalities. We're all people.
Yeah.
So, you know, you may come in and talk with me and be like, this guy is nuts. Like, I can't stand the way that he has his beard. Like, that's fine. That's cool. Like, just because one doesn't work doesn't mean none work.
Yep.
Like, find someone that you can connect with. You may have to visit with 3 or 4 or 5 counselors before you find that one that you click with.
Yep. And that's a really great point, because I think the perception is that like a counselor is like an electrician. Like they all, you know, they go in, they put the wires in, they can make the right connections, and it's, you know, it's done. And kind of a, you know, they're all because they're all trained the same way and they'll have the same, but that is definitely not. You will connect well with some, not well with others. If you don't connect well with the first one,
try it.
Keep going.
Right.
It's worth it.
A counselor is more like a friend than a doctor. Like, you're going to pick a friend based on how you connect with them.
Right.
You're going to pick a doctor based on what they know.
Yep. Right. Right.
And so, you know, most counselors are all trained in the basic same thing. We all have the basic same knowledge.
Right.
But we have different ways of communicating that and connecting that. And so, yeah, I mean, keep trying until you find one you connect with, because it's, we're all different and we all have our quirks, and, you know, it's important. And especially, you know, if you don't feel comfortable talking with a female counselor, then when you're look for a male counselor. Like, if you're not going to open up to someone, don't go to them.
Yeah, right.
You know, if
It's in your best interest to be.
If you don't feel comfortable talking about this issue with, you know, a female, then go to a male. If you don't feel comfortable talking with someone that's young, look for someone that's older. Like, you know, figure that out in your head. Like, okay, this is the type of person I would be more comfortable talking to. Find someone that fits that.
Right.
Well, hey, we want to thank you for coming out tonight and sharing with us. We appreciate your story, and then also your knowledge as far as men and mental health. I appreciate you giving us those tips and just being honest about that, because I think it's one of those things that as men we kind of shut down on and don't do. And so I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. This was awesome.
Cory, you're a good dude and you're a good dad, and we're glad to have you here. That was good. I think yet another armchair expert for us
for our show,
for future shows. Always great to have those resources. So, guys, we like to do this to every single one of our guests because it's necessary. It gives a fuller picture, I think, of the guest, of the deep core, who they are at the core. Am I right, Andy?
You are absolutely right. So it is now time for...
Now it's time for the Dudes and Dads Pop Quiz.
All right, and Joel, I'll let you kick this one off. So if you have your questions ready, go for it.
Okay, Cory, I'd like for you to tell us what your favorite color of jelly bean is.
Favorite color of jelly bean?
Favorite flavor, I guess. The flavor and color. Favorite flavor.
Those two go together.
Bean. They kind of do, but yeah, favorite flavor.
Gosh, I'm not a big fan of jelly beans, but are we going like standard, or are we going like
You get as tropical
ones?
and weird as you want to, man.
You do you.
You do you.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple. So I'm gonna go with green apple.
Green apple.
That's a good one.
Excellent.
So, are you a cat or a dog person?
Dog.
Absolutely.
Cats are from Satan.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish more people. Honey, I hope you're listening. I wish more people could get on board with that sentiment. Cory, do you remember what the first date was for you and Amanda?
Yeah.
You better get it right. She might be listening.
Yeah.
We went to a movie and went to Applebee's. The cool thing about it, and she says the scary thing about it, because she didn't find this out until later. I have glasses.
Yes.
And without my glasses, I really can't see very well.
Got it.
And my glasses were broken.
Oh.
And so I drove and picked her up and drove her to the movie theater and drove her to Applebee's.
So what was the movie? I mean, if you can't see it, I mean, how did you get anything out of it?
It was one of the 007 movies.
It was all a blur, though.
Yeah,
it was all a blur.
Right.
the whole night was a blur. So she is absolutely terrified thinking back on that, but she had no idea that at the time. So
That's
apparently,
right. Exactly.
You did good.
Apparently, I was okay.
Well done.
But yeah, I hid my blindness well.
So, next question: what is the make and model of your first car?
Are you the first one that I owned personally, or the first one that I drove?
Let's go with owned personally.
Okay. 1984 Honda Accord.
Oh, yes.
5-speed with a moonroof.
Yep.
I remember that car.
And that car was...
How many miles did you get out on that baby?
It had like 230 or something like that when I sold it.
Okay.
But it was like falling apart. That motor, the engine was solid.
Yeah, it was still exactly. It's still going, but everything else.
But the door was off of it. No.
Yep.
I joked with my wife. I told her I really wanted to propose to her in that car because the Bible says that we should be in one accord.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And
Dad joke.
She did not appreciate it.
Nope, I'm sure she didn't. Cory, what's your? Now we're getting all sentimental here. What's your favorite love song?
You stole mine. I was going to use that one.
I go off. Sucks to be you.
So since I was studying up on you guys, I prepared.
Knew that one.
I love it.
I knew it was coming. I will say the song. It's we call it our wedding song, and that's. I mean, my kids know it as the wedding song. But it is by Nuvo, and it is. What's the actual name of it? Maybe
he doesn't know it.
Maybe Tomorrow by Nuvo.
Maybe Tomorrow by Nuvo. I'm going to look that one up.
We call it the wedding song. So. Just because it was sang at our wedding, and that's how our kids know it.
All right, this is my last question.
Okay.
What is the furthest place that you've traveled in your life? Like from Indiana, since you're from Indiana. Where's the furthest out from Indiana?
So I haven't done a lot of traveling. But in high school we went to Mexico City.
Okay.
And when I was a youth pastor, we went down to Mexico as well, but that was kind of just across the border. It wasn't very far into Mexico. So
Mexico
City would probably be the farthest.
And Joel,
Cory, if you hadn't decided to take the vocational direction that you have taken, and you were, I don't know, let's just say that tomorrow you're like, hey, new year, new job. I'm gonna go in a different direction. What do you think you'd What do you think you'd like to experiment with? If there were like, and I should say, if there were zero repercussions for it failing miserably,
Oh man,
what would you like to venture into?
I don't know.
You have stumped him.
Yeah, this is a tough one because like I'm trying to think like totally outside of like the
Sure.
social services field and
Yes.
the people field because I would definitely do something in the people field, but that kind of misses the point of your question.
Well, maybe, possibly.
So, I don't know. I would do a custom countertop business.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's a fantastic. There's the
story behind
Yeah.
this.
Yes, please do.
So one of the things, it was kind of my way of grieving and going through that grieving process with my dad. He had started an outdoor grill area, and he had told me kind of some of his plans for it. And one of the things he wanted to do was a concrete countertop out there. And so that was part of my grieving process, was actually making that concrete countertop. Like I poured it and I made it for him, for my mom. And it was fun. Like I enjoyed it.
And heavy. I helped you lift it.
Oh, it was, yeah. I sent a call out to every guy that every dude I could get to come show up. We got around that thing. But yeah, so that was fun. It was, so I think it would be cool to experiment with some of that stuff, doing some of that creative stuff. But
Absolutely.
as I said, I'm not good at it.
Yeah, I sort of have oddly just a related question. So in our line of work, our work is like, our project is never done in our line of work. Like we never see something. I mean, depending on how you want to look at it, but there's not frequently a sense of beginning, middle, end, done, completed project.
You can't step back and be like,
right.
Wow,
there's the finish. There's the finished product. Do you think there's? I think there is. Like even within my hobbies, there is something to. Like I love landscaping, whatever, because I start with a completely messed up situation. Nothing has been done, and by the end, I look and it's like, boom, things are in place. They are planted. Things are, that's a beginning, middle, end, and there's an attraction to that. Would you say that maybe that speaks to? Do you think there's something there? I just wonder. I don't know.
Possibly. I see. I don't know, because I was just thinking when you said that, I was trying to think like, what are my hobbies? Like, I'm a hunter. You're never done. I mean, when you're hunting, it's like,
sure.
I mean, you get done for the season and you tag out, but
sure, like
there's always a bigger buck to get.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm like, man, even my hobbies, there's no completion to.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, in certain ways, I mean, you could say you do kill the buck. Like
right. You complete
that.
And there's a sense
there's a accomplishment and celebration there, though, I would say.
So yeah, there might be something to that.
Yeah.
I'd have to think a little bit.
Because I mean, for you, it's like you aren't probably going, yay, I kept one more kid out of jail. Like, like
you should journal it.
You should.
Thanks.
I'm going to say that a lot. You should journal.
We should come up with Dudes and Dads journals.
Ooh.
Yeah.
New merch item. Moleskin coming your way. Okay, but by the way, when you did get a journal, is it manly fancy? Like, are you feeling pretty, or did you just get like a 3-ring notebook?
Actually,
flowers.
My wife bought it for me for Christmas.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a faux leather.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I have a fascination with journals, and they all have to be like smell of like deep oiled leather. It's like this. I like the tactile
coffee and
yeah. In fact, I actually spilled coffee on it just to get it soak in.
Well, Cory, we want to thank you for being on the show. You successfully completed our quiz.
Oh, Cory, congratulations. You did. Flying colors.
I know a lot about myself.
So self-aware.
Yeah. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters over at dudesanddadspodcast.com/support. you can support us monthly, and you get extra stuff like our newly created Facebook group that allows the Patreon supporters to come and hang out and chat.
It's where all the action is.
It is. So you, for small amounts, big amounts, you can help support the show. We really, really, really appreciate that. dudesanddadspodcast.com/support. And all of our show notes and everything about the show can be found at dudesanddadspodcast.com.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you listening. Until next time,
Grace
and peace.